In today's video, we're going to teach you how to open a US bank account without an SSN or an ITIN. Plus, if you're a GlobalBanks insider, you can even open accounts remotely at real banks without ever visiting the United States. But before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get alerted every time we post new non-resident banking opportunities. To help fully understand the process of opening a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN, we have a free non-resident banking starter guide. It's designed to help non-resident and foreigners open bank accounts as easily as possible in countries like the US. So don't forget to download your copy using the link in the description below. Okay, back to our topic for today. To be clear, we are not talking about fintech, EMIs, or payment platforms. What we are talking about here is opening personal accounts, business accounts, and even premier banking accounts at some of the top brick and mortar banks in the US. So, if you're a non-US citizen who needs a US bank account to send or receive money, connect to Stripe or PayPal, to fund your US investment accounts, or for any other reason, this video is for you. One final point before diving into how to open a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN. Many people will tell you that it's impossible to open US bank accounts remotely. They'll say that US banks don't accept foreign entities, and they'll even tell you that you must have an ITIN. But this isn't always true. And as you'll learn in this video, SSNs and ITINs aren't always required to open US bank accounts for foreigners and non-US residents. If you know which banks, branches, and bankers cater to your specific client profile, know how to reach them, or how to get a direct introduction, know their account opening policies, and use correct account opening strategies, you can open accounts at a wide range of banks and situations. Finding the right contacts and knowing which banks have compliance protocols and onboarding procedures that allow them to accept clients without SSNs and ITINs is critical. In fact, bank policies are constantly changing. While one bank might be willing to open a bank account without an SSN or ITIN at one point in time, they might not allow it in 6 months. That's why our team constantly analyzes account opening procedures and compliance practices and tax ID requirements at banks in the US and around the globe. We keep track of bank account opening practices, compliance quirks, maintain constant dialogue with banks, and track account opening successes and failures. At present, a select number of US banks do allow certain foreigners to open bank accounts without an SSN or ITIN. Here's a quick list of the groups that GlobalBanks can help open a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN remotely. Foreign companies with 0 US ties, offshore companies with 0 US ties, foreign-owned US LLCs, foreign non-residents from most countries, excluding sanctioned countries. In case you didn't notice, the list I just mentioned casts a very broad net. By our calculation, it should represent around 98% of all people and companies looking to open a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN. In fact, the only real exclusion are people or companies from sanctioned countries or that appear on specific watch lists. And yes, some people in the Unlucky Passport Club will be impacted by this. Otherwise, most people and companies can access US banking through GlobalBanks, including remote options. It's important to note that each bank's willingness to open bank accounts without an SSN or ITIN does vary. In fact, if you do not go to the right banker or branch, it's almost guaranteed that you will not be able to open accounts. We discuss this in much more detail, show you how to deal with it, give you specific solutions, strategies, and in some cases, direct contacts in our GlobalBanks Insider. But rest assured, solid banking options do exist for each of the above clients. In some cases, the best banks in the US will even accept you with a minimal deposit, but more on that in a little bit. Some considerations when opening a bank account without an SSN or ITIN remotely. If you plan on visiting a US bank in person, the number of banking options available to you will increase. But given the difficulties surrounding travel right now, we've decided to focus on opening accounts remotely. Naturally, the most important requirement to open a bank account without an SSN or ITIN remotely is to find an experienced banker that actually has clearance and authority from the bank to open accounts remotely. Unfortunately, this isn't an easy task. As always, the following important considerations will impact your ability to open accounts with a given bank or banker: nationality, tax residency, source of funds, source of income, industry of employment, political exposure, and more. For business account opening considerations, you have country of incorporation, country of operation, country served, industry and business activities, where are incoming transfers being sent from, where are outgoing transfers being sent to, and more. If you are applying for a business account, the personal account opening considerations will still apply for each shareholder, director, or member of the company that is applying for the account. Like all account opening situations, different banks have different deposit requirements. Though generally speaking, when opening without an SSN or ITIN remotely, you will usually be expected to make a larger deposit. This can range from $10,000 US to $250,000 US and varies by bank. If you're planning to open a bank account in person, you can open accounts with significantly less. In some instances, you can even open accounts with only $500 US or less as an individual. Alternatively, if you're opening for a business, you should expect to deposit at least $1,500 US to avoid monthly fees. But the amount to avoid monthly fees will fluctuate from bank to bank. If you don't know what you're doing, opening a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN can be painfully time-consuming and extremely expensive. In fact, depending on your risk profile and how difficult it is for you to obtain authenticated documents, applying to a single bank can cost up to $1,000. And if you get rejected and have to apply to multiple banks, well, costs can skyrocket fast. With this in mind, our team has prepared 3 US banking-specific reports. They are designed to help our members navigate US banking and unlock all the benefits of the most sophisticated financial system in the world. Now you might be saying, what about Mercury, TransferWise, Payoneer, and similar services? There's nothing wrong with using services like Mercury, TransferWise, or Payoneer as a supplement to your brick and mortar bank accounts. But as we've seen around the world, these platforms are best suited to transactional banking and should not be used for storing deposits. Additionally, these platforms are increasingly focused on servicing clients with a US presence, with US operations, and that are classified as US businesses. Some will even ask for proof that your business is operating in the US before they will open an account. It's also important to remember that many fintech providers are not banks. Not yet, at least. While certain platforms such as Revolut have actually acquired banking licenses, this is an exception, not the rule. Instead, most US platforms will simply partner with a licensed bank, usually in some obscure corner of the US, and essentially offer a pretty interface with a few extra services tailored to a certain niche market. Make no mistake, better customer service, integration with other business support services, example accounting software, and services tailored to your client type do offer value. But these platforms also have shortcomings, limitations, and risks. We'll dig into this in another video where we'll break down fintech, EMI, and payment platforms. For now, just know that fintechs and neobanks are an important tool that should be used in combination with, not as a replacement for, traditional bank accounts, especially if you have a sizable or growing business. There are many service providers, websites, and business gurus that say they can help you or your business open a bank account without an SSN or ITIN. In reality, they use low-quality banks, improper methods, and in many cases, simply open accounts at EMIs. Instead, when you join GlobalBanks, we give you everything you need to solve your biggest banking problems and achieve your banking goals. And if that includes opening a US bank account without an SSN or ITIN, we'll give you all the tools, information, strategies, support, and direct contacts you need to do it all on your own. If you want to learn more about what we covered in today's video or have access to the top banking strategies around the world, all you have to do is join our flagship service, GlobalBanks Insider. With GlobalBanks Insider, you'll get instant access to our entire archive of banking intelligence reports, access to the GlobalBanks database, home to more than 250 banks from 50 plus countries, including detailed bank profiles, client preferences, and a whole lot more. Finally, you'll also get real-time analyst support from our team of experts, ready to answer your most pressing banking questions and to make suggestions on which banks in the United States and elsewhere will best meet your objectives. To get started, just click the link in the description below to learn more about GlobalBanks Insider. And before signing off, don't forget to hit subscribe so you get alerted every time we share new banking opportunities. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.